Hey there, everybody, and welcome to this Monday edition of OutKick Bets. I am your host, Kayla Canarum. Welcome to the show. Joining me over there in Alabama, my buddy, Arky Shea. Arky, how's our Monday?
Hey, pal. I'm doing great.
Hey.
Monday is a great day for sports betting because we get that Monday Night Football game. And
Oh, yeah.
I know people seem to hate Mondays, and I kind of get it, but I'm all right with Mondays because we get football at the end of the night.
It's a great day, yeah. The NFL weekend continues into Monday. What's not to love? How was your weekend, pal?
Great, bud. I think it was good. We made a pretty decent profit over the weekend for sports betting. Hung out with the family and stuff. It was a good weekend that way. So I'm ready to keep things going.
All right, we're going to get into a bet last night, but there's so much to talk about over the weekend. First and foremost, though, really quickly, I wanted to share. I went to Salt Lake City for a wedding over the weekend, and I was fully expecting to find a Real Housewife of Salt Lake City, but instead, guess who I found, Arky?
I have no idea. In Salt Lake City, I have no idea. Rudy Gobert?
Well, no, not Rudy, but close. I was staying across the street at a hotel. My friends were at another hotel across the street, which was the team hotel for the Bulls, the Heat and the 76ers. So I'm literally standing in the lobby. Jimmy Butler walks right in front of me. And then the next day, the entire 76ers team was like parading through the lobby. So I got my fill of NBA this weekend, even though I didn't watch a game.
Did you do anything? Like, did you go over and be like, "What's up, Jimmy B? What's up, brother?"
So the friend
when you were in the bubble, leaning over the guardrail. That was my jam, yo.
He had a very large security man walking with him. And my friend who I was with actually works with NBA players, so I didn't want to do anything weird. I kept it cool.
You could have waved. Like, guys, if I went up to Jimmy B doing all that stuff, he'd probably been like, "Dude, attack this man now. He is in my way, and he is a threat." But if you came over, he probably would have been a little friendlier, would have been like, "Hey, what's up? How's it going? I'm glad you remember my name."
Well, missed opportunity there, I guess.
That's okay.
Next time.
Yeah.
All right, it was another wacky weekend in football. It included OU going down to Baylor 27-14, and with that, officially being excluded from the playoff conversation. Again, I was at a wedding. My dad kept blowing up our family group text because he hates OU going back to the Big 12 days, so he was super thrilled about that one. Kansas beat Texas on the road in a 2-point conversion by walk-on Jared Casey, who had never caught a pass all season long. I gotta say, I love stories like this. I even saw that Clay tweeted out his family's reaction, and it was super cool. Love that. Even though, I will never really pull for KU, they were 31-point dogs going into this game and won it 57-56. Snapping, Arky, their 8-game losing streak and, get this, 56-game losing streak in Big 12 road games. That is wild, going all the way back to 2008. Which is, of course, the last time they were actually good. Did you watch this game? What did you think about this one?
I watched the end of this game. I got the updates as the scores were happening. But again, I saw Kansas get up big on Oklahoma and then sort of blow that game. So, I thought that they were going to come back to earth a little bit, and they did. But they got to overtime, even though some funky things happened right before. Some typical Kansas thing happened right before when they could have clinched the game in regulation. And you're right, that video of his family watching him from the opposite end zone saying, "Is that our son? Was that our son? That's our son! That's our son!" It was really, really cool to sort of see that happen. Like, he's a Kansas kid, too. He's from Kansas, and his family's from Kansas. It was a really nice story. And it helped me with my season total bet. I had Kansas to win over 1.5 games at plus 160. Cha-ching.
Wow.
Thanks, Texas, for being awful.
Good for you. Yeah, by the way, OU and Texas better step it up if they want to compete in the SEC, which, as a Mizzou fan, I have no room to say, but it's not looking great for them right now. It was also a crazy day in the NFL. Seattle got upset by the Packers, 17-zip. Bucks lost to Washington. That one was weird. And Cleveland really let me down in their blowout loss to the Pats, 45-7. Detroit, by the way, did not lose, but they also didn't win because they tied with the Steelers, which is really sad for the Steelers. Arky, I know we feel the same way about ties. Give it to me.
They're awful. They're awful. The NFL needs to get its act together by now. Like every sport that we pay attention to mainly in the United States has a way to figure out a winner, right? Even hockey figured out, hey, listen, we can have ties, but we also have wins in the shootout, okay? We can get to the shootout and find ourselves a winner. I don't understand why the NFL, the most watched and popular and bet on sport in all of these great United States, has to be okay with ties at this point. Did you see the story afterwards that rookie running back Najee Harris for Pittsburgh? He said he was sitting on the bench and he was getting ready at the end of overtime and said, "Guess I got another quarter to go." And then someone tapped him on the shoulder and said, "That's it. That's the game."
He didn't know there were ties in the NFL.
We get this story every few years that somebody just doesn't know that the overtime rules, that the games can just end in tie because they're normal human beings.
It's stupid. It should not exist, especially, as you said, in the NFL. It's pointless. Like, why? I don't get it. That's such a letdown after a game.
Yeah, somebody
in my opinion.
Yeah, that game was putrid. I watched way too much of that game. And someone deserved to lose that game, and someone deserved to technically sort of win that game too. But, like, they both technically deserved to lose it, but not tie.
All right, well, this all leads us up to, are the Chiefs back? Arky, this game made my heart so happy, I cannot even tell you. This is going to give me way too much confidence when betting the Chiefs going forward, but it's also going to, it's the boost we have so desperately needed, and I am cautiously optimistic that we have turned a corner. Fingers crossed. Tyrann Mathieu said it best, tweeting, "Stay humble. You know it's a long ride," and I couldn't agree more. So let's not let it go to our heads, Chiefs, but also let's do the exact same thing for the next 7+ weeks. That would be great. I almost forgot what it was like to watch a game stress-free. I want to talk about Pat for a second. It was primetime Pat in the flesh last night. In another direct quote from me last Thursday, I said, "Watch this be the game that Pat goes off." And look what happened. So maybe I should say that every Thursday show from now on. He walked into that game looking swaggy. He balled out. He finished the night 35 of 50 for 406 yards, 5 touchdowns, and zero interceptions. Thank you. My man, have a Sunday night. Did I lose the under? I sure did, but I don't care because it felt so good having the team back to their original form. The Chiefs, of course, improved to 6-4 and first in the AFC West. Thank you, Lord. I didn't think the day would come, but here we are. And like I said before the show, Arky, Chiefs were 6-4 in 2019, and well, we know what happened there. So the floor is yours. Tell me what your thoughts were on last night's Sunday night game.
You didn't think the day would come that you'd be first in the AFC West? Haven't you won like the last 4 divisions?
It got so dark over the last few weeks. I couldn't see the light.
All right, little perspective here. Okay, just a little perspective. Yeah, like I tell you what, it was primetime Pat, especially in that fourth quarter. I mean, like that was the stuff, the vintage Pat that we, hard to believe it's only a few years in the league, vintage Pat, but that's the stuff we expected this season and every season for Pat, because he's shown us. Like, he started the game early in the game by throwing it left-handed to complete a pass because he was being racked up in the backfield. Like, he played really, really, really well in that game. That whole team played. The defense played much, much, much better. And it's amazing what happens when you don't turn the ball over 4 times in a game, right? Like, you know what's vintage? Keeping the ball in your hands and you're able to score points that way. That's vintage.
Love it. Also, quick note. Were Brittany and Jackson there? I did not see anything on social media, and I'm wondering if that's a reason why we played so well.
Not the worst thing to think right now.
If they could just maybe stay away from some games, that would be great.
Yep.
Not only were the Chiefs back, but Cam Newton was also back. Yeah. One of my only bets to hit this weekend, by the way, if he would show up in a hat. And guess what? He did. All jokes aside, I loved every bit of this, Arky. He jumped back in at QB1 for Carolina like no time had passed on the road against the then 8-1, now 8-2 Arizona Cardinals, and then came out and did Cam things, running in for a touchdown on his first drive, less than 4 minutes into the game, and then throws a touchdown pass to Robbie Anderson right after that. It's a great day for Carolina. Left the desert with a 34-10 win and a lot of mojo on their side. You cannot replicate Cam's energy and pizzazz that he brings to Carolina. You're certainly not going to get that with Darnold. I hope Cam stays long-term, and I'm excited to see how Carolina looks in the weeks to come. What did you think?
Yeah, Christian McCaffrey said after the game that Cam Newton brings the kind of energy that he's never seen from anybody else. And you can sort of see on the sideline immediately. There's videos that were taken from the stands of him being a leader immediately. And even though he wasn't the starting quarterback in that game, it was surprising for some people that he was activated for that game. And it was even more surprising that he got significant snaps inside the goal line. He rushed for that touchdown on the first drive, and that's when he did the "I'm back," and he got the penalty for taunting and a sportsmanlike conduct. And he also took his helmet off so people could see him saying "I'm back." So it was a little like, "Hey, I'm Cam being back, being Cam." And then he threw it for a touchdown later. And then the surprising result was that Carolina went on and to dominate that game, even though there was no Kyler Murray in that game, and it was Colt McCoy again, and he got hurt later in that game.
Yep.
It was a really good scene to see for Carolina, something that they really hoped for. Matt Rule really hoped for was signing him to really what was kind of starter money, which was kind of unexpected because everyone said that he wasn't worth the starter money. So to see him come back in Carolina and do that well was really kind of nice to see, even though he had to go do it in the desert. And also nice to see us hit our hat prop bets for the night, too.
Exactly. That was literally one of the few that I actually got right over the weekend. Such a disaster. Oh, my gosh. All right. We're going to move on now. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
The NFL is tough. It's tough. So if we can get a hat prop in there, we'll take that money.
We'll take it every time. Yes, we will. Moving on to our game of the day, Monday Night Football. All of these lines, of course, are according to FanDuel Sportsbook. We've got the Rams, 7-2, 4-0 on the road at the 49ers, who are 3-5 and winless at home. An NFC West showdown. Let's go. Rams favored by 3.5 as of right now, with the total of 50.5. Arky, where are you going with this game tonight?
So this one feels pretty cut and dry. Right? Like we're talking about, yes, it's a divisional matchup, and that's a big deal. But yes, the big deal is that we're looking at a Rams team who is white hot right now. Well, not as of last week, but this season they've been great. They're one of the top offenses in just about every statistical category. They are the top offense when it comes to the passing the rock around. And they are really, really, really good. They're also super talented on defense. And they're going to San Francisco, and they're only getting 3.5 points in that game. It feels a lot kind of like a trap because San Francisco's dealing with a whole bunch of injuries. They haven't been very good this season. They haven't been very good at home either as of late. You get an extra day for this. That is kind of good, but the only bad news for the Chargers is that, for the Rams, is that they lost Robert Woods the same day that Odell Beckham Jr. showed up to practice for the Los Angeles Rams. And it's not a direct one-for-one trade in there, but there are worse teams to have had bad injuries to the wide receiver position happen. That offense doesn't go through him. It goes through Cooper Kupp. So the Rams are probably going to be fine in that case. The only thing I don't like about this game in favor of the Rams, the only thing is that underdogs are 20-9 against the spread this season in primetime games.
Really?
Underdogs, 20-9. I don't think that's going to be a case tonight for San Francisco. I really, really can't find a way that San Francisco plays long enough into this game to where it's not at least a touchdown win for Los Angeles. It really feels like also a big bounce-back spot after getting punked a little bit by the Titans last Sunday night for the Rams to come back and to be able to win. So I really do like the Rams here tonight, and I like them to win big.
All right. Well, I'm just going to kind of reiterate what you said. Obviously, yes, wide receiver Robert Woods out for the season with a torn ACL. Luckily, they just signed that guy by the name of Odell Beckham Jr., who's expected to see some playing time tonight, by the way. Von Miller is currently questionable. 49ers are looking for their 5th straight win over the Rams, though. That surprised me. Both teams coming off losses, as we said. Rams were rolling before that, having won 4 straight. This spread, Arky, honestly felt closer than I would have expected. But as we know, like we said, divisional games can be anyone's game, last night excluded. Plus those losses, as previously mentioned. 49ers also plagued with some injuries, including tackle Mike McGlinchey is going to be out. Tight end George Kittle is questionable, and the list goes on for San Francisco. Rams are averaging 29 points per game, allowing 21. 49ers, on the flip, are putting up an average of 23 and allowing 25. So they're not too far off there, but I'm sure if that helps me on the total here, why not? I'm not going to be looking at the spread, even though I do like the Rams. The Rams are 12-3-1 against the spread in their last 16 games. Sorry, I am going to be looking at the spread. Not. Just kidding. They're 12-3-1 against the spread in their last 16 games following a straight-up loss, but they are 2-4 against the spread in their last 6 games and 3-8 against the spread in their last 11 against the 49ers. Again, the 49ers are 1-5 against the spread in their last 6. So this is close, but like you said, it should be cut and dry. I'm going to take the Rams -3.5 and stay away from the total. So we're aligned on that.
Yeah, this scares me a little bit, just being so cut and dry, because I felt similarly about Indianapolis and the Jets a couple of Thursdays ago, thinking that's almost too cut and dry. But I still ended up liking the Jets and the Colts in that game overall. This feels like another situation too. It's almost too cut and dry to make sense.
It's one of those that could easily go the other way, and we want to be surprised.
I mean, yeah, but my mind would be blown a little bit if it goes against the Rams. I would go to bed immediately and probably not wake up until after the show airs tomorrow.
Well, and the fact that San Francisco hasn't had a home win, aren't they due? Like, couldn't they just come out of nowhere? But again, the injuries, and I just don't see it happening.
That's the thing, yeah. But the Patriots only had one home win the whole season going into yesterday, and then they destroyed the Browns.
Yes,
the NFL is a very difficult place to pick, but this feels like as clear cut of a spread as I'm going to be able to get this weekend, and I would like it all the way up to 6.5 or so.
I agree. This was closer than I thought it would be. So I think you're good taking the Rams, but again, as we saw yesterday, you never know. Okay. All right. Let's head over to our spotlight matchup. We're going to be in the NBA for this one. The Bulls, 9-4, 4-2 on the road at the Lakers, 8-6, who are 7-4 at home. Bulls are currently third in the East, while the Lakers sit at 7th in the West. Chicago favored by 1 as of now, with a total of 219. Arky, who do you like in this one?
Oh, so how about the Bulls, right? Winning last night in Los Angeles and getting a sweet snapping of 7-game winning streak by the Clippers. That was a real good effort by them last night. And they had it from the start, like the very start in that. Like they only allowed 17 first quarter points to the Clippers, and that was really, really impressive. DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine, they combined for 64 points, 35 and 29 respectively. They were really, really good. But also good were the Lakers, right? The Lakers won against San Antonio and covered the spread and had 4 of their 5 starters have at least 14 points last night, including Anthony Davis, I should say yesterday afternoon, including Anthony Davis, who had 37, I think, in that game. They had a really good effort on their part, too. I think a lot of people didn't think they'd be able to cover that spread. But this thing is interesting because this thing stays in, obviously, the Staples Center. And Chicago was literally just there. So I'm not really worried about the road-to-road, back-to-back sort of kind of scenario. I am worried about Los Angeles going back-to-back with how old that they are. They are a very old team, and they put forth a lot of effort yesterday to be able to beat San Antonio. So I worry about that just a little bit, and I like Chicago a little bit more in this case because of their youth, despite the fact that DeMar DeRozan is also 100 years old. People never talk about. But despite that, I think I'm looking more for the total in this game because both teams are 3-1 against the spread in their last 4 games, and both teams are 3-1 in their last four games. So if I'm going to look at the total, I think I'm looking strictly at the under tonight because the Bulls have a very, very, very good defense. They're 4th in the league in total scoring defense, and that is massive right now. The Lakers' offense is pretty darn good, but that's because they haven't played a whole bunch of great defenses over the last several games. And I think you're starting to sort of see that in kind of the numbers. So this is where the numbers can kind of fool you. So I think I'm going to take the under tonight for the Lakers and the Bulls. Even though the spread looks tasty, I'm going to say that I'm not going to get back-to-back great performances out of that starting lineup for the Lakers, and I think this game goes comfortably under.
Well, you're probably smarter than I am because I am going to take the spread here. Bulls leading rebounder in Vooch will be out for the Bulls. LeBron is still out for the Lakers along with Austin Reeves and Kendrick Nunn. Here's the deal. Lakers are 4-9 against the spread this season. Bulls are 9-4. Lakers, as you said, coming off that big win over the Spurs and will be playing in a back-to-back heading into Monday. But so are the Bulls, as you just said, over the Clippers. So what's one to do? I'm leaning the home team here because they're both in the same situation. Probably stupid since it's the Bulls, but I like LA +1. So crossing my fingers for the home team, hoping those old guys can get it done tonight.
Yeah, and I'm a big Carmelo apologizer. Like, I like Carmelo all the way back to Denver, and I really liked him when he came to my Knicks and stuff. And I think he gets way too much crap for being sort of a guy that's semi 1.5 dimensional as far as his game. But like, he's been an all-time great scorer in this league, so I've been an apologizer for him for a long time. And I like the fact that he's still able to play really effectively and at a high level for the Lakers. So part of me roots for Carmelo itself, but the bigger part of me roots for my wallet, which is going with the under still.
All right. It is now time for one of our favorite segments around here, the betting commandments with Arky. Arky, what commandment do you have for us today? Enlighten us, my friend.
It's a very important one because Monday is a very, very big attempt to get back with Monday Night Football. So
yes,
what we pay attention to is this newest commandment, thou shalt not chase with thy money. And it's very, very, very simple. The NFL is difficult. It's very, very, very difficult to consistently bet and win every single week. In fact, if you were
Don't we know it?
Yeah, if you were watching last weekend, not this past weekend, but the weekend before, it felt like all the underdogs were not only covering, but they were winning the games. It was a real good weekend for Vegas and the sports books, but not a great weekend for the public because the public loves the favorites. So, a typical attempt on Monday, and why it's such a highly bet game, no matter who's in it, despite the fact that we do have a pretty cute team in the Los Angeles Rams in it tonight. The reason it gets so much bet is because so many people are trying to get back the money they lost over the weekend, and Monday is the unofficial end of the football weekend. So, I'm telling you, stop! Stop! Don't do it. Don't bet the money just to try to get back the money. If you have a feeling or you have a real angle on this, or if you've been watching this show and you really like what Kayla and I say, yes, bet it then. But do not chase your money. Your wife, your 3 children, your boss, your car payment when it gets repossessed is all going to hate you for the decisions you're going to make. Do not chase the bad money with your good money. That money is still in your account. Keep it there. Take the loss this weekend and move forward, because we all go through cold streaks when it comes to sports betting. Stop putting your money after it. You'll eventually get warm, but stop chasing on Mondays just to try to get the money back, because it won't work. It almost literally never, ever works. So thou shalt not, and I'm talking to you, chase with thy money this weekend. If you really like what we say, yes, but don't do it just to do it. You're going to be in bad shape. That is a fact. That is a promise. That is the ethos of the gamble god. If you chase, you will lose.
That is some sound advice, Arky. Saint
Yeah.
Arky.
Well, listen, I think I have to have done at least 2 miracles, and I think of only one of them I'm confirmed on. So.
Oh, okay.
If I want to be a
We'll be
saint.
looking out for that second one.
Well, you know. I think the one I had was Washington and Carolina a few seasons ago, where there was a last-second pick 6 that covered the total. That's the only miracle that I think I'm responsible for right now.
Okay, well, if you could pull some more for the Chiefs this season, I'd greatly appreciate it.
You don't need miracles. You're first in the West. Relax.
Okay, fair. All right, thank you, Arky, for that. Moving on to our quick hitters of the day. Arky, where are you starting out with your quick hitter?
The Nuggets and the Mavericks tonight. We're going to go back to the association. Well, we're getting a really, really good matchup tonight. The Nuggets are 8-4 going against the Mavs, who are 9-4. Both of these two teams, surprisingly, when you look at Dallas, also are pretty good defenses. Now, Denver is the number 1 defense in terms of points allowed per game at 98 or so a game, and that is awesome. But Denver's not far behind. I think they're only giving up like 3 more points per game than are the Denver Nuggets. And that's a pretty good sign to pay attention to the total tonight, which is 216.5. Now, I pay attention to that because you don't normally think of this team specifically, the Dallas Mavericks, being an under machine. But check this out, 2K. Both of these two teams combined are 18-6-1 on the under this season. That is a massive trend you just can't ignore. Like, you can't ignore that trend at all. And I do like the fact that I'm also paying attention to a Denver team, even though they went over the total last night. Yeah. They're just now leaving their house for the first time in 2 weeks. Okay, they've been at home for 2 weeks, and they're going to Dallas tonight. It's the second game of a back-to-back, and they're having to travel for the second game of the back-to-back. I like the defense to travel, not the offense necessarily to travel, and I like the under 216.5 tonight for the Mavs and the Nugs.
Wow, okay. I like that. I'm staying in the NBA, just kidding. Heat, 8-5 at Thunder, 5-7. The Heat have dropped to 5th in the East, and the Thunder sit at 10 in the West. Miami is the 9.5-point favorite with a total of 208. This will be the final game of Miami's 5-game road trip, so I'm going to take Thunder here plus 9.5. How's that for a quick hitter? Just kidding.
Okay, good.
Well, kind of. Actually, kind of. Heat will be without Oladipo and Markieff Morris, while Bam, Butler are both day-to-day. Thunder will be minus Mike Muscala. But, the Thunder were on a 4-game winning streak until Brooklyn spanked them yesterday. So the wins have been close for the Thunder, but they are nonetheless wins. Meanwhile, the Heat went into this road trip 7-2, Arky, and they are now 8-5. So you do the math there. It's not been a great road trip for the Heat. I'm still going to keep this short and sweet, and I'm going to take the Thunder plus 9.5. And I hope that road trip has gotten to the Heat, and maybe, just maybe, the Thunder will play them close. This more or less hinges on whether or not my pal Jimmy Butler plays. So this one will probably be a game time decision. I'm probably going to regret this, definitely going to regret this, but crazier things have happened. So I like the Thunder 9.5. Let's get weird.
Wow. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna say God bless you, and I
Thank you. We're gonna need it.
I hope it goes nicely for you.
Hey, as long as they lose within, that margin.
That's true.
Or if they surprise us and win, that'd be great too.
Yeah, that's true. My other quick hitter, I'm going to go up to the Pac Nor, which is short for Pacific Northwest, where Gonzaga, the number 1 team in the land when it comes to college hoops, is taking on Alcorn State. And that spread is 38.5 points in favor of Gonzaga. Yeah, that's a lot. And you would think, why, Arky, bring up a nearly 40-point spread in a game tonight for a quick hitter, unless you're planning something devilish. And maybe I am. One thing I did want to bring up about this game real quick is that I just think it's interesting to pay attention to what some people and what teams have to do. Alcorn State has been up in the Pacific Northwest for a week now, over a week now, because this is their 4th game that they're having to play in the Pacific Northwest. Well, not having to, they scheduled it. Because Alcorn State is one of those positions, like so many other smaller universities, they're having to spend a lot of time on the road to pay for the program with these paid games. In fact, I wanted to mention to you real quick, I wanted to read their schedule, because they don't have a home game at all until January 15th.
Whoa.
I'm going to repeat that because it seems wild.
That is wild.
Alcorn State does not have a single home game until January the 15th. It's November 15th, fam. Okay,
seems a little unfair.
Yeah. So they started with Washington State, Seattle, Portland, Gonzaga. Then they have Southern Illinois after Thanksgiving, Milwaukee, Tulane, Houston, Wichita State, Tulsa, Baylor, Oklahoma, Minnesota. And then they have a few conference games at home, on the road before they actually get home against Jackson State, Alabama A&M, so on and so forth. Like, no home games. It's bizarre. But they've played really, really well on the road. In fact, they've covered in 3 of those, and all 3 of those games, if I'm not mistaken. Washington State, I think, may have been a backdoor cover at the end. Alcorn State's pretty well. And Gonzaga's coming off a big win over Texas this last weekend, where they covered the spread on that one. But they didn't cover their other out-of-conference game to start the season. So here we go. Give me Alcorn State, and my respect to the Braves, plus 38.5 tonight.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's right. To the Gonzaga. What are they, Bulldogs still? Yeah, they're still the Bulldogs.
Best of luck with that one, friend.
Thank you. Listen, it's 40 points. I don't know if you've been paying attention to college basketball early on this season, but there have been a lot of dogs covering big spreads against good teams early on. So this one is the one I like to continue that trend.
All right. Well, I'm also going to stay in the Pacific Northwest. Raptors at Trailblazers. Toronto the 1.5 dogs right now with a total of 214.5. Both teams are coming off losses. The Trailblazers got smoked by Denver, 124-95. Portland is 5-9 against the spread, and when being favored by 1.5, which has been 10 times this season, Portland has covered 5 of those. The Raptors, on the other hand, are 6-8 against the spread, and the Raptors are 5-4 against the spread when playing as the 1.5 dogs. Total has hit 6 out of 14 games for Portland and 7 in Toronto's games. A lot of this depends on Dame, who is day to day. So give me Trailblazers minus 1.5 just for funsies, taking the home team. So that's what I'm doing there.
Yeah, Trailblazers are interesting. That's a lot of games to have such a short spread on. Like a lot of games early on.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, so it's very, very interesting. Good note by you. Good nugget.
Thank you. All right, it is Monday, but we are already looking ahead to the weekend for our college football and NFL Sundays and Saturdays. So we're going to start looking out for some games we're excited for. Arky, where are you going with this one?
Number 24, SMU at number 5, Cincinnati. Cincinnati's a 12.5 point favorite. Yeah, it's a big week for Cincinnati. The new college football playoff rankings obviously will come out tomorrow, and we'll see if there's any adjustment, not likely, to what they're going to be for going into this weekend. So this is one of those actual games that can get the meter moving a little bit as far as public sentiment's concerned, as far as the College Football Playoff Committee is concerned. If they can beat SMU and then cover a spread like 12.5, which would mean they'd win by 2 touchdowns, that's a significant quote-unquote quality win, even though it's not one of the big Power 5 conference wins. It's one of the few that they get the rest of the way, and only one of the few that they would have on their docket for the entire season. So if they can get that and look good in that game, it's going to be big for them. So I think that it's not a pick I'm willing to make yet, but I think this is one to really pay attention to, because I think Cincinnati, we've talked about their motivation before and the fact that they eventually pulled away from South Florida last week. They need this game to look good in this game to really have any chance to play for the national championship. So there may be a little extra skip in their giddy up to get ready for this one and to play well.
We're going big and going home with these picks. I'm looking at number 7, Michigan State. 9-1, of course, at number 4, Ohio State, 9-1. This spread kind of shocks me. OSU favored by 18.5 with a total of 67.5. You're going to have that, if you're going to have that big of a spread between number 4 and number 7, that just doesn't make sense to me. Because it is so great, that makes me nervous to bet this game. But here are some trends nonetheless. Quarterback numbers aren't even that close. CJ Stroud blowing out Peyton Thorne. But his numbers aren't terrible either. Both teams are pretty equal in terms of rushing and receiving yards. The Buckeyes are 5-5 against the spread this season. The Spartans are 7-1 so far. The Buckeyes are also 3-1 against the spread when favored by 20 or more. In terms of the total, OSU has combined for over 68 in 3 of their games this season, while Michigan State is also combined for 3 games over that total of 68. All this to say, I'm going to take MSU plus 18.5 because I like betting the dog, and I think I'm good with staying away from the total here. But that just seems like a huge spread with your number 4 and 7 teams in the country. So what do you think about that one?
Yeah, Ohio State's obviously getting a lot of credit for the quarterback, C.J. Stroud. As you mentioned, he's great, ginormous numbers on the season, and he's getting a lot of credit. The spread that is for how explosive their offense is. And Michigan State has been a solid to fine to even pretty good offense at times, but it's not quite the same as Ohio State. And in fact, I think this will be Ohio State's 4th straight game against a pretty darn good team, and they did not cover against the first 2. They did cover against, I think, Purdue this last week, and Michigan State's probably the second best of those teams that they have played in that stretch. So I think I would kind of lean with you this early on in the week. I mean, that's an interesting number to be paying attention to because Ohio State doesn't have to do much. They just need to win to keep on their playoff chances. So, they don't have to look great, and they've struggled at times to do so. So, I think I may be leaning with you here.
All right. Well, on that note, that's going to do it for us today here on OutKick Bets. Again, I am Kayla Canarum. That is Arky Shea. Don't forget to make your picks at FanDuel.com/OutKick. Best of luck in all your betting, friends, and we will see you right here tomorrow on OutKick Bets.